This is part 2 of weather and climate. We were just talking about words that describe the weather, and we had written down day-to-day conditions outside, the 7-day forecast, prediction, and this week, tomorrow. These are words that describe the weather. Right now, maybe not sunny. We're talking about like time words, times that describe the weather. If you can describe it within, maybe we should add these, the next few hours, over the next week, over the next few days, this afternoon, tomorrow morning, any words that are a short period of time. That's what we need to add, a short period of time. This is describing weather. Weather is a short period of time. Today, tomorrow, this week, last week. These are words that describe weather. If you need to push pause, you can pause the video so you can finish writing down words that describe the weather. Now that you're done, you need to look back on page 285 and you can answer the question number 7 right here. Describe what is weather based on what we've read. Based on the notes you've written, you should be able to describe right here what is weather. They gave you 3 lines. You should be able to fill up all 3 lines. You can push pause until most of you are done, and then you may continue. On line number 8, it says list 4 factors that are commonly used to describe the weather. 4 things used to describe the weather. Finish up number 8, and then we'll move on to the next page. Now we're moving on to climate. So in your journal, if you want to start a new page, I'm going to move down. Climate. Weather and climate are related, but weather and climate are not exactly the same thing. So what is climate? Yeah, we'll skip that part. And we'll skip that part. We'll go on to the good part. Average weather. The words weather and climate do not have the same definitions. The difference between climate and weather is the time interval. And that's what we just finished talking about. Weather, everything talking about weather was a short period of time. Weather describes the conditions of the atmosphere for short periods of time. Oh, don't you love it when the book says the same thing the teacher says? Praise the Lord. Such as days, weeks, months, and years. You know what? I think that's what we left off. We said days, we said weeks, and months. We didn't put months and years. So if you want to go back and add any of this over here, short period of time, weeks, months. They said years. I don't know if I like year so much. I'm not going to put year. Let's not go longer than a month. Maybe I don't totally agree with this here book right here, but that's okay. So we'll do with the weeks and the months. Too bad I can't scratch that out, but they don't give me a pin on this thing. Climate, on the other hand, describes the conditions of the atmosphere, the weather, for longer periods of time, such as decades and centuries. And that's what we're going to talk about for climate. So climate, I guess I should put it beside it. Describes the atmosphere and weather over long periods of time, such as, yeah, these are the words you're going to need to know. Decades, which decades means, yeah, that's right, 10 years. Or centuries, and centuries mean, yeah, that's right, 100 years. Decades, centuries, these are long periods of time. I'm also going to put in multiple years, years, or many years. So this is where I'm going to put the word years. I'm going to put years down here with climate. So climate is the weather patterns over the year, over many years, over decades, 10 years, or over centuries, hundreds of years. If you need to push pause while you finish writing all that down, let's let everybody get almost caught up. Unless they're not working hard, some of these people, they better be focusing, pay attention, and work hard. But you can push pause. Climate includes information such as the average amount of precipitation. Oop, that's another word we better add up here. Climate is also the average weather, usual weather. Would help if I spelled things right. Average amount of precipitation, the average temperature, and how much the temperature changes over time. The average usual weather. So like the average temperature. I could ask you, what is the average temperature for Texas in the summertime? And most of you are going to say hot, right? In the 90s. That would be our average temperature. Is that the exact temperature every single day, all summer long? It may seem like it, but no, it's not. Some days in the summer, we're down in the 80s. Some days in the summer, we're hitting 105, 110. But on average, it meets in the middle, and I bet almost every day in the summer it's around 90. Now the average temperature for Texas in the winter is not 90 because of the different seasons, because of the Earth's position in the solar system, because of the angle that the sun's rays hit the Earth. The average temperature for Texas during the winter may be more in the 70s or maybe 60s, but you wouldn't say 90s, and you sure wouldn't say 20s. But the average temperature for Canada, north of the United States, in the winter, it may be in the 20s. That may be their average. They get lots of snow up there. The average in Alaska is different. So this is where the word climate comes in. Climate is the usual weather over many years and centuries. And you would need to know this in case you're going to Alaska for a vacation right now. You would want to look up and see, well, what's the usual temperature? Maybe you're planning a trip for 2 months from now, and you need to know the usual temperature over the last 100 years for Alaska 2 months from now. The weatherman can't tell you the temperature 2 months from now. He doesn't have that information yet. It's too far in advance. He doesn't know what storms are coming. He doesn't know if it's going to be raining, snowing, sleeting, what the temperature is. But we can look at the climate data, the temperatures over the past many years, and we can make a prediction ourselves to say it's going to be cold. You better pack a jacket. All right, over here, climate includes information such as average amount of precipitation, the average temperature, and how much the temperature changes over time. Oh, so we should put that over here. Changes over time. Let's put weather changes. Weather changes over time. This is also climate. These are words to describe climate. Texas is a large state with a range of climates. Climate and plants are related. Plants grow best in certain types of climates. It is unwise to plant tropical plants in North Texas because they will freeze and die during the winter. Plants that thrive in North Texas might die in the coastal areas of Houston or Corpus Christi. Plants that live for many years, such as trees, are dependent on the climate. Plants that live only for a season are less dependent on the climate. They don't live as long. Those little plants that we plant outside, they don't live all year long. So they just need the right time of the year, and they're good for a few months. Maybe like a garden that you plant outside. But trees that stay out there for year after year after year, we need to know what type of tree we need in the area that can handle all of our different seasons and our usual weather. And here's a map of the key of Texas, and you can see they put different pictures on your book so you can see different types of places. You can see down here, there's East Texas where we are. I hope you can see my hand. I'll change it back to this one. So here's where we are. Lufkin's right over here. We're in the Piney Woods over here. Way over here in West Texas, though, this is mountain and desert region. Up in the north, this is more flat plain lands all up in here. Of course, this is down by the coast. So down in here and in here it's going to be warmer. Over in here it's going to be nice. Up here, and during the winter it's going to be a little cooler. Alrighty, so next page. Factors that affect climate. Different areas of the world have different climates. Some factors that affect climate include latitude, elevation, and closeness to large bodies of water. And you've talked about latitude with Mrs. Brock before. I believe y'all have worked on latitude and longitude, so this is not new. You've seen these different lines of latitude, and that's what you're seeing in your book. One factor that affects the climate of a place is its latitude. Latitude is a measure of how far a place is from the equator. The equator is our 0-degree line, and that doesn't mean it's 0 temperature degrees. It's a different type of degrees, like how far away from something it is. But the equator is right around the thickest part of the Earth, and if you go up from it, this next line they've identified in your book is 23 5/10 degrees north of the equator. There's also a line 23 5/10 degrees south of the equator. So there's different zones. And so just by looking at the picture, you can see this section of the Earth has a tropical zone. And you're going to see warm beaches, warm waters, plants that like lots of warm. Their climate, their usual weather all year long is warmer than other places of the world. Does that mean the rest of the place we don't get any warm? No, we get some warm too. But we also get times of the year where we're not as warm. So we live in a zone called the temperate zone. It kind of makes sense. It's got that word temperate. It sounds like temperature. The temperature for us changes all the time. Right now we're having cold temperatures. A few months from now though, hold on, we'll be having the hot temperatures. And then back this fall, we'll be having nice temperatures. And so it changes all year long. This is this area in green you see in the book. This is a temperate zone. You'll notice down here in the bottom of South America, is also a temperate zone. So they're having weather similar to our area up here. Now you look up here, especially above Canada, here's Alaska, north of Alaska. This is the polar zone, and you can tell by the picture, is not a lot of nice warm beaches up here. No, you need heavy jackets. This is where polar bears live. Santa Claus is up here. It is cold. The water's cold, the land is cold, the ice is cold, the air is cold. I think it's all cold. Now, I've not been there myself, but based on the picture, it's cold. So really cold area, nice area that has different seasons. Some cold, some medium, some hot, some warm. Down here, it's almost always sunny. That's why people like to go to the Caribbean down in here. People like to visit Cancun. People like to go on cruises down in here all times of the year because the temperature is always warm and toasty. You'll notice as further you get away from the equator in the south, it's the same thing again. Here's the temperate zone like where we live, and down in Antarctica, it's another polar zone where the penguins live down here. You may push pause and I'll let you read the rest of this information yourself. You're welcome to write down any notes that you have. I'm going to push pause myself and I'll read some in a minute and see if I want to add anything to my notes. So here's the information I wrote down in my journal. I just wrote a few facts about the polar zone, the temperate zone, and the tropical zone. So you may push pause and catch up. Alrighty, I think we have enough notes on weather and climate. Now on a separate piece of paper, you can create a Venn diagram comparing and contrasting climate and weather. And so I went ahead and drew mine. I drew one colored circle for climate. Make sure you label it. I drew another colored circle for weather. Make sure you label what this is. Anything they have in common should go in the middle. They do have things in common. I can think of several that climate and weather have in common. But then there's things that are totally different from climate and weather. You can use your book. You can use your notes. When you finish this and all your notes are complete, then you may read quietly at your desk or anything else that Miss Landrum tells you to do. Thank you for listening and have a great day.